Hello everyone, my name is Halina Bayeva, and today I'll deliver my presentation regarding Russian-speaking immigrants in the United States, and more specifically on discrimination, mental health, and integration issues. The population that I studied consists of Russians, Ukrainians, Belarusians, and other post-Soviet nations. Highly educated and professionally well-trained, they are nevertheless faced with a set of integration issues to American society. I refer to the crisis as a blend of language, cultural misperception, and structural prejudice, all having accelerated since the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine. The political dispute has also regrettably reawakened anti-Russian sentiments, which also target Russian-speaking Ukrainians and Belarusians who may not necessarily be opposite to what Russia is doing in principle. My goal in this research was to understand the challenges faced by this community and identify evidence-based interventions that could improve their mental health and integration outcomes. To begin, I'll share some of the key quantitative findings from the literature. According to the Estimates and American Community Survey, there are almost 2.4 million people living in the United States who identify themselves as being Russian in origin, and 6 or 7 million who identify Russian as a first or second language. Education levels are relatively high. 92% hold a high school diploma, and 51% have a bachelor's or higher. But English language ability is relatively volatile. Roughly 483,000 report speaking English very well, while roughly 407,000 report speaking it not well or not at all. Psychological studies show that discrimination is highly associated with anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder in Russian-speaking immigrants. Furthermore, there are social and legal vulnerabilities. More than 2,000 cases of detention of Russian-speaking asylum seekers alone were reported in 2024. These statistics suggest that, qualifications aside, there are serious systemic barriers in the way for many. A couple of qualitative interviews were also included to add richness to this statistical snapshot. One with a non-profit executive director who works with this population, and one with a licensed clinical social worker. Stigma of mental illness and language were noted by the social worker to be the main issues in receiving good mental health care, despite the utilization of interpreter services. Cultural heritage is lost, and there is suspicion or misdiagnosis. There are even a few families that have remained silent about speaking Russian outside the household for fear of discrimination. The director of the non-profit painted a bigger picture of issues, from homelessness to computer illiteracy, especially among elderly immigrants. She saw success with peer mentoring programs as well, with the older members of society, the newer ones with education, healthcare, and jobs. They both recognized ranked stigma and language as highest priorities, but in reverse order. Mental health access first and general social and legal support first were ranked by the social worker and non-profit administrator respectively. Trying to help clarify interpretation of these findings, I used 3 theoretical frameworks covered in our class. First, Rosenblum and Travis's meaning of difference model offers a frame of mind regarding how master status here, language and ethnicity take precedence over other individual traits to lead to stereotyping and exclusion. Second, core and others ethical principles remind us that equal access, self-determination, and cultural competence are the foundations of social work practice. Here, they are not necessarily achieved for Russian-speaking immigrants. Lastly, MC Nami's critical disassembly of the myth of meritocracy establishes that even with more education and qualification, structural barriers in the form of credentialing, restriction, backdoor discrimination, and institutional weakness prevent this group from achieving access. All these models establish that the problems encountered are not capricious, but founded on structural disparity. Drawing on my interviews and literature review, I identify 2 evidence-based interventions. 1. Culturally responsive, trauma-informed mental health treatment. Bilingual and bicultural recruitment of staffing. Cultural humility training for existing providers, and outreach to communities to decrease stigma. These methods have been demonstrated to improve engagement and outcomes through evidence. 2. Community programs that combine English language training, computer literacy, legal aid, job placement, and peer mentoring. According to the research, multi-service strategies reduce dropout, improve employability success, and stabilize community settlement. My own recommendations supplement these interventions. We need to have prevention early on in schools to prevent bullying and cultural exclusion. Reform to more quickly recognize foreign credentials. Outreach to aging immigrants and long-term assistance for ethnic and mainstream provider partnerships. In addition, there are some important gaps in research and service delivery. This slide outlines some of the gaps we identified. There must also be longitudinal research to confirm the follow-up of the long-term impact of post-2022 discrimination on mental health. Comparative research with the other migrant groups can also give overall threats as well as solutions. At the delivery level, the scarcity of Russian-speaking service providers and unstable funding of programs are root factors. Systematic application of anti-discrimination policy is also lacking. Further work is required to evaluate the efficacy of integrated service centers and conclude on the longer-term effect of peer mentorship on integration. In general, what works in the quality of ethnic networks and locally oriented programs success where they are sufficiently funded. What remains to be done is change at the systemic level so that qualification, capability, and talent are prized and given respect, and mental health care is accessible to all. Thank you for your time, and I hope to address any question.